Welcome to the Backfield Buzz podcast, a part of the Hive Podcast Network. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, and Andrew Foster here, keeping you up to date with all things NFL. Fellas, we're back. Superlatives for week 13. We talked a little bit about the Thanksgiving game specifically a couple episodes ago, so feel free to go listen to that. We are going to be giving our overall thoughts about the week in this episode. But first, Frosty, how you doing?
I'm alive. Cowboys are on the come up, so I'm feeling better now. Now that we're back on track, you know?
Back on track. Hey, well, Glover, how you doing?
Doing all right. I'm doing all right. I mean, I didn't get you dub this weekend, but I'm also not, I don't know how much confidence you got in the Cowboys after the win over the Giants, but hey, we'll see. We'll see.
All right, well, let's stop diddly-dallying. Let's get right into it. Best game. Best game. Let's start there. Um, a couple of good options. I have one in mind. I'm interested to see what you guys choose, but Glover, where would you end up leaning?
I ended up going with a game I can't believe I'm saying is the best game, but it was Denver Cleveland on Monday night. That was just it was just a shootout, like in every sense of the word. They were just Jameis Winston is such a fun quarterback to watch play football. Like, I'm sure if you're a Browns fan, you would love to not have the two pick sixes or the three picks. But this guy threw 497 yards and four touchdowns and kept it interesting by throwing three picks. He threw more touchdown passes to the Broncos than Bo Nix did. Like, this game was just crazy. And in the fourth quarter, I mean, the Broncos are or the Browns are driving down after their pick six. They get all the way down the field, pick in the end zone, almost another pick six, which I bet you I know there was a couple fantasy managers that were tweaking out about that pick six. One of my buddies almost lost his week if that pick got housed, but it was just a wild game from start to finish. Big plays, revenge game for Jerry Jeudy. He was insane. Like just a crazy game all the way through.
Frosty?
I I uh I wanted to go there. I had two. So I'm gonna go with the other one, which I also cannot believe was my other pick. I'm going Bucks Panthers.
Yeah, yeah.
The ending of this game was unbelievable. Baker Mayfield driving back down the field after Bryce Young just let what everybody thought was a game-winning drive with 30 seconds left. Baker marches down the field for a field goal. Adam Thielen makes a crazy catch in overtime just for Chuba Hubbard to fumble the ball on the next play for the Bucks to get it and kick a game-winning field goal. It, I I can't believe those, in my opinion, were the two best games this week.
Yeah, that game was nuts.
Yeah, as you're talking about it, there was a couple good finishes. You got the one that you mentioned, Bucks Browns was, or sorry, Browns Broncos was a fun one throughout. I mean, even if you guys would have said Chiefs Raiders, I think it was entertaining right to the end. I actually went with Steelers Bengals. I just think there was a bunch of points put up on the board, and it was just like since he can't allowing the Steelers to put up 44 points is disgraceful. Um, there was big, we talked about it going into the week. There was big stakes coming into this one since he's probably dead in the water now with that loss. But it's honestly a good week of football, I would say. Good week of football. Even like Seahawks Jets, I think maybe could have deserved a little bit of a shout by the just the amount of maybe just entertainment value on that because it was just so weird and wonky, and then got the Leonard Williams 92-yard pick six. But all right, let's go to the worst game of the week. Frosty.
I'm going Chargers Falcons. I mean, that was just terrible football, man. That was bad. The Chargers had absolutely no business winning that game at all. Kirk Cousins might be losing the starting job all of a sudden, which is crazy. The Chargers won the game without an offensive touchdown. It's just terrible. At a point, I think the Falcons are at a point now where they might have to look at Michael Penix possibly coming into the game.
It, it's not crazy. Like Kirk has not been good. He's turned the ball over a lot, and you've got this first round pick quarterback. Give him a shot, see what happens. Like, it's not the worst idea in the world.
Well, Glover, where did you were you agreed with Frosty?
No, I went with Bills Niners. That game was just ugly, and maybe there's a little bit of personal distaste to this game because it ended my fantasy season. Because of the snow, and Jawan Jennings was like 4 points away from what I needed him to be, but it's just a whole other thing. But yeah, the game itself was like it was over so quickly. Neither team could stop the run, and then CMC went out, and Jordan Mason got hurt, and James Cook just had his way with the Niners defense. The game was never close. It was never a thought. It was a snow game, which was cool, but it wasn't like the Browns Steelers the week before where the teams were actually fighting at it and going back and forth. It was a one-score game. The Bills just manhandled the Niners, and the Niners just keep getting more and more and more beat up. And I think their season at this point might also be in the dirt.
Yeah, I would agree to that. There was a couple. Those are both good shouts. I mean, Commanders. Type, we're talking about. Like you're just saying, Glover. Game over before it even started. Like, what was it? 28 nothing in the first quarter, or was it 21 nothing? One of the two. Uh, Commanders ended up winning that one, 42-19 over Tennessee. That one wasn't a fun watch. At least there was touchdowns though, and compared to like the one you mentioned, Frosty, or even Rams Saints, 21-14 for the Rams. Just wasn't much, happening in that one. But so there was, I thought even like I don't know. Did you guys like the Lions Bears game to kick off the week? Did you guys think that was entertaining?
It was all right.
It was funny if you're not a Bears fan at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even think it was funny for Lions fans, to be completely honest. That should scare you.
Yeah.
So true. You should be a little worried about the fact that the Bears almost with Matt Eberflus almost went down and dropped that on you.
Did they score at all in the second half?
The
I
Lions.
could check real quick here. The Lions,
Yeah.
yes, they had one touchdown in the third quarter. To be fair, they did have the Jahmyr Gibbs goal line fumble, which
Oh.
like uh Swan would have won me a fantasy matchup, would have given me that 8 point swing.
Mhm.
Yeah, Detroit, real quick, like they're on a 10 game win streak, and if you just take that fact, you're like, yeah, okay, sure, like that's really good. But we kind of mentioned it last 3 to 4 weeks, or last 3 out of the 4 weeks, they have like they barely squeaked out a win against Houston, barely squeaked out a win against Chicago, and like didn't really dominate the Colts. That was a decent back and forth game up until like near the fourth quarter there. But I don't know, how was the Lions have been considered the best team in football. Do you guys still agree to that? Do you think I think it's personally closer now with like other teams. Like I don't think they're the tier by themselves as maybe they were 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, they're not quite as dominant as they were 4 weeks ago, but they're still my best team in the league because no other team is really giving them a run for their money. Is really where I'm at. Like, sure, the Lions are winning close games, but the Bills still have the question marks they had at the start of the year and they haven't really, to me, they beat the Chiefs, and that was a great win, but the Chiefs themselves, I'm not too high on because they're also in the same boat as the Lions, and even worse because they can't dominate anybody, and haven't done it all season, and they're 5 plays away from being 5-7 right now. Like they're in a much tighter spot there, and the Eagles are the team that's pushing them right now in my eyes. But I think the Lions are still my best team by a decent chunk.
I don't think it's by that much anymore, though. Like the Lions haven't been that impressive recently.
I would agree. I would agree. That's why I posed the
I
question.
I still think they're one, but I think I don't think a lot of other teams are rising up to them. I think they're coming back down
Mhm.
to the other best teams in the league.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I look at it. I think they got two big games coming up the next 2 weeks. They got the Packers and then the Bills.
Yeah.
Either one of those teams beat them, and you're probably looking at a new number one team in the league.
All right, let's move over to the best team. It shouldn't be Detroit this week. Who is it going to be? I don't know. Let's see what the fellas say. Frosty.
There were so many close games this week that this was like legitimately this might be the most difficult week to pick the best team, I think. I went Commanders because the Titans have been playing better. We just saw them. They just beat the Texans. They got dominated by the Lions too. But this Titans defense is good. It's showed out a couple times now. They only lost to the Vikings by 10. They lost to the Chargers by 10. Like those are both playoff teams. And the Commanders walked in and absolutely obliterated them.
That was a big game for Cliff Kingsbury specifically. That was big for him to get the offense back on track, and it was a pretty impressive showing. Despite the Titans being a bottom feeder team, that defense is still probably top 10 in the league.
Yeah, it's uh, like you mentioned, Frosty. It's kind of the only one you can really go with. Like, no other team really put another team into the dirt this week. Like, you could say Buffalo, but like San Francisco was just so even hurt. Like, they weren't even playing their team. Um, I think you could maybe even go Steelers. Like, I know it was a close game, but I saw that Russell Wilson threw for the most yards in the first half than he's ever has in his career last week. And I did not know the Steelers offense could put up, let alone 30 points, let alone 44. Uh, so I mean that was impressive to me. They showed something there that I didn't think was possible and gave me a little more confidence in them.
See, I'm gonna go with Commanders too, but for the Steelers, I think this is just telling about the Bengals. Like they dropped 38 on what is considered one of the best, if not the best defense in football as a divisional opponent. And they got allowed one of the worst offenses in football to drop 44 on them. This team just isn't good. They're so like their defense is probably the worst in the league, but their offense might be the best in the league. I think I've seen a lot of people comparing them to the 2010 Chargers that had the number one offense, number one defense, and missed the playoffs. That's going to be these Bengals, except it'll be number one offense, number 32 defense, and miss the playoffs. Like this is unbelievable how bad this defense is. And it was really summed up in one play to seal the game when Steelers third down, need the first down to clinch to get to win the game. They put in Justin Fields. What do you think the play call is going to be if Justin Fields comes in for his one snap? Look at that, a read option. Oh my God, Justin Fields took the ball and four Bengals defenders along his side all bit on the running back. And he just walked for the first. Like, how do you not? How do you have a single guy just literally standing there? He doesn't have to think. His job is stand there and wait for Fields to make a move. And they all just jump into the middle of the scrum. And like that is the most telltale sign of how this defense has been. They have a chance to make a play to give Joe Burrow a shot, and they screw it up.
They've done that once or twice before this year. Like this isn't like this was the
Oh yeah.
first time. And yeah, it's like just underprepared. Like you got to see that coming, and like that's been on film. So
Oh yeah. It's not even film, it's just common sense. What Justin Fields isn't throwing the ball. And if he wants to hand it off, there's no need to sub Justin Fields in.
yeah. Yeah, I could have guessed it was a read option. I knew as
Yeah.
soon as he came in, it was a read option. They've done that before this year.
He,
So,
he, he came in and I think we both looked at him and went, oh, Fields gonna run it. And he still got it. Like, and I'm not a football player, coach. Like, I shouldn't be able to predict that better than you can.
all right. Well, let's move on to the worst team of the week. As much as we're just crapping on Cincinnati, I don't think you could say
Yeah.
them because, they did put up 38 points. But where did you end up going for your worst team, Frosty? Who's getting the stamp this week?
I gave it to the Niners. I mean, I'm pulling up the stats right now. Brock Purdy went 11 for 18 for 94 yards in a game where you're trailing by I think 18 points at halftime. Your quarterback completed 11. He only attempted 18 passes. I know it was a snow game and it was cold and they're hurt. You have to just try and air the ball out. You don't have a choice at that point. And he only threw 18 passes. Like that's bad, and that's bad on Kyle Shanahan too, I think.
It's crazy. He threw more than Josh Allen. He threw one more attempt than Josh Allen, who only
Like,
threw 17 attempts and they won by 25. They just, it's one of those games where you just got to run over somebody, right?
Yeah, I went with the Niners too, and it's kind of just a culmination of their injuries. They're adding up, and I don't see a world where this team can come back from this at this point. Like Brock Purdy's obviously playing hurt. Mason's hurt. McCaffrey's hurt again. Debo looks washed, like so washed. You got no Ayuk, you got no Trent Williams, you got no Nick Bosa. The players are dropping like flies, and
Lenore didn't play.
Lenore
Isn't
didn't play.
Hafunga
And Fred
hurt? Their left
Warner's playing
guard's
through
out.
like, and
Warner's
I
Greenlaw
forget,
is out.
yeah, like,
Yeah, Warner's got like a broken foot and he's been playing on it for 8 weeks.
yeah,
Like
like
Greenlaw was out. Lenore is out.
you're
Hafunga might still be out. Like,
it's not like a detriment to anyone in specifically. It's just like you got no players left. You're just and you'd love to like I think you'd love to hold this against like a Brock Purdy as like someone who's against his, his hype and whatnot, but at the same time, like you gotta have some help. You gotta have someone healthy on your team to be able to do something. But it's a disaster. And I think the game would have been kind of close if McCaffrey stayed in, but McCaffrey was done and their offense just it was bad. It fell off a cliff.
yeah, he was putting together some good drives, but I like how we were all just like, yeah, he's hurt, he's hurt, he's hurt, and then Debo's washed.
Yeah.
All right, but it's a sweep for the 49ers, being the worst team of the week. Let's move on to the player specific superlatives. Offensive player of the week. Glover, where did you go?
I went with Jerry Judy, man. Like that was unbelievable. And it was insane. And this is the Broncos defense. This is the worst they've looked all year by a mile. And it's the in-game adjustments when a receiver starts to beat them are interesting because when they go into a matchup knowing they have an elite receiver that they're going to have to cover, Pat Surtain follows them and they have no issue. But when a receiver starts having a good game they didn't plan for, there's no adjustment. The two worst games the Broncos have played on the defensive side of the ball, that happened. The Ravens game where for some reason Zay wasn't shadowed by Surtain. Zay had a day. He went crazy that game, and the Broncos got destroyed. Same thing here. I don't expect you to start the game with Judy shadowed by Surtain because nobody was expecting that. But by the second quarter, you should have kind of clicked and gone, ooh, maybe we should just have Surtain follow him because I'm not too scared of Elijah Moore. So that's a question. That's a questionable just coaching strategy for the Broncos that they should really figure out because as much as this defense is playing well and the system is good and there's a lot of solid players here, like Nick Benito's playing really well and all that, Surtain's your defense. You got to game plan to his strengths. You got to use those to your advantage. Otherwise, you're going to have the Cleveland Browns drop 32 points on you.
yeah. I, I was gonna go Judy as well. I'll change it. I'll go Josh Allen. Two passing, a receiving, and a rushing touchdown. Probably the most ridiculous play I think I've ever seen with or one of them with Amari Cooper, the lateral back to Josh Allen. Like that was just stupid. That was a ridiculous game. And I know you're not gonna like it, Logan. Think he's I didn't have him as my MVP going into that game. I think I have him as my MVP now.
These next few games are going to be key, but he's got a really good MVP schedule coming up. I, I like he loses to the Lions. He's cooked, I think, but it's still so weird to look at because we talked about it last week. He's really having statistically one of his worst seasons, and it's just the team's winning, and the team doesn't have the help it used to. So
This, I honestly, it's so much like what Lamar did last year
it is.
because it's a team that's honestly not as good as the recent Bills teams that we've seen, but they're playing better, even though Allen's playing worse. But because they're playing better, they'll give Allen the MVP. It's kind of this. I think it's the same thing as Lamar did because last year wasn't one of Lamar's better years.
No, this year and 2019 are both better.
Yeah, but they had, I think, probably a better roster, but they played unbelievable last year, so gave Lamar the MVP, and it looks like that's what's going to happen with Josh Allen too.
I think the biggest difference in the 2 years is the fact that that's why it's going to be a bit more of a race until we see how these key MVP games end. But the reason it's going to be a bit more of a race is because Lamar's year there wasn't a standout quarterback. There wasn't a guy who just put numbers up all over the board. So we'll see how that factors into voting. And Saquon Barkley, how will he factor into voting too?
Yeah.
All right. I was gonna go Judy. But like you already said, Judy, so just to spice it up a little bit, but how about Bucky Irving? Little Bucky Irving love. Have you guys seen like the Bucky Irving lover account? Uh, so I just wanted to it's like the meme where it's like I'm just so happy to be born on the same earth as Bucky Irving. 25 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown, including 33 yards receiving. I mean, yeah, probably the reason they won this game outside of that like final drive kind of thing for Baker and the field goal, but like he was the big source of that offense, and then obviously Mike Evans was really good as well with Baker. So, uh, Buccaneers pulling it out. Give me Bucky Irving for offensive player of the week. Defensive player of the week, Frosty, where did you end up going?
I'm picking DeMarvion over Sean. I mean, he the unbelievable pick six that he had. That might be the best defensive play that's happened this season. He had a fumble recovery too, nine total tackles, five solo tackles, and it was a 7 point win. So that pick six was the difference in the game. So I'm giving it to Mariano Overshone. I said before any of the games on Friday or Sunday happened, somebody would have to have like five sacks or like three interceptions with a pick six for me to give this defensive player of the week to anybody other than him.
Well, I'm going with a guy who almost had that. I'm going Tarheeb Still. Two picks, three pass defenses, a touchdown. He was all over the field, and I didn't know this guy existed until that game. Like he went crazy, and some key in a game where you win by seven. I mean, or win by four. That pick six is pretty massive. The picks he has are pretty massive. So yeah, I'm going with Tarheeb Still.
The Leonard Williams disrespect is crazy. Four tackles, two sacks, and a 97-yard pick six. Come on. Come on. Two QB hits, a touchdown. He put up points on the board.
Hey, so did Tarheeb Still.
So did Overshown. They all did. They
Yeah.
all did. I just
What
didn't
was
want to
the
say Overshown. I just didn't want to give and as a big guy myself, I gotta give the big guy some love. But yeah, Tarheeb still definitely was a good show. All right. Um let's go to rookie of the week. And can we just like breeze past this? Like if does anybody else say Brock Bowers? Like is I mean you could say maybe Bo Nix, I don't know, but like I'm going Bowers.
Yeah.
Well, it's also you brought up Bucky Irving as your offensive player of the week. He's also
Yeah, true, true.
like since you already mentioned Bucky as an offensive player of the week, I'll just go Bowers because he did play unreal and was so key on that last drive until the Raiders screwed it up, but he was massive.
At what point, like, what does he have to do to win offensive rookie of the year?
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, what does he have to do? I don't think, because Bo Nix honestly didn't play very well in this game. They put up a ton of points, so it makes it look like he played well. He had one touchdown and two picks. Jaden Daniels hasn't been playing near as well recently. Brock Bowers is on pace to lead the league in receptions. He's going to break the rookie reception record. He's going to break the tight end reception record. He's going to break the tight end yards record. Like, it's unbelievable what this guy's doing, and he's not even close in the odds right now.
Robert Bowers is fourth in receiving yards among all players in the NFL, not rookies, not tight ends. Among every single player currently in the NFL, he is fourth. Like, that's unbelievable. The only players that have more receiving yards than this guy right now are Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Terry McLaurin. He's got more than CeeDee Lamb. He's got more than Nico Collins. He's got more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, AJ Brown. He's more than them all. How is this guy not the rookie of the year favorite right now?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because we saw this play out last year between like a Puka Nakua and a CJ Stroud with the just with the quarterback kind of favoritism, but none of the quarterbacks this year are doing what CJ Stroud
Yeah.
did last year. Not even close, to be frank. So, um, yeah, I mean, I would go Bowers just because how crazy. I mean, I played against him in one league and lost, ended my season. I'm not technically dead at it, but it's a very I'm the 10 seed right now, and so it's not looking good. But and then he single-handedly won me a week. I was the highest scorer in that league because of him, and I played against the highest scorer in that other league. So, I mean, he's been a fantasy darling. He's been a just a revolution this season. Uh, yeah, he's fantastic.
He's also been doing it with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell all season. Like he's not sitting here with some elite quarterback. Like he was drafted to a spot that just had a quarterback that's going to feed him the ball. He's just the entire offense. They have no run game. They have no quarterback, and he's putting up numbers.
So that to me is another massive difference is Jaden Daniels has Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz has been very good this year. I didn't expect that. And they have a really, really good run game. They have three very capable running backs. Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton has been unbelievable this year. Caleb Williams has one of the best receiving cores in football, probably right now, at
Yeah.
least on paper, anyways. Brock Bowers has nothing, absolutely nothing. Like it's he's doing more with less, but he's at a less desirable position, so he's not going to win it.
Yeah. It's also
Yeah.
crazy though. I'm just looking at the receiving yards. Jerry Judy's game knocked up to fifth in receiving yards somehow. But also Ladd McConkey deserves some love for this too. I think it's Bowers, big gap, and I'd go like yeah, Daniels, Nix, and Ladd. Like I think Ladd's in a better group is closer to Nix and Daniels than they are to Bowers right now.
I think Caleb's in that conversation too. He's been
I think he's
very
put
good
himself.
recently.
The problem is he's just not winning football games, and
Yeah,
that's gonna hurt him in the long run.
especially with Jaden and Bo Nix both being on playoff teams.
Yeah, like I think Caleb falls more with like Brian Thomas Jr. in that other tier.
All right. Surprise player of the week, our final superlative. Who surprised you this week, Clever?
I'm going surprisingly bad. Justin Tucker, man. What the hell? Like this is unreal. I've in my entire life of watching football as a Ravens fan, I've never been worried about a field goal. I've never seen a kicker go up and go, "Ooh, is he gonna hit this? Is that extra point a guarantee?" I have this year, and I don't get it. He finally missed one wide right. That's his first wide right miss all year. But he had his single worst game of his career last night, or on Sunday. We're talking about the greatest kicker in the history of this game, and he looks terrible. And I've seen people say it, and I agree. If his name was not Justin Tucker, he'd be looking for a job right now. He would be cut because this has been abysmal and it's lost the Ravens games. The Ravens have lost this season by a combined 22 points in all their losses. Justin Tucker has missed a combined 22 points worth of kicks. Now, it's a bit deceiving because he doesn't miss kicks in some of the games where we lost by those numbers of points, but he missed a pick kick against the Chiefs. We lost by one. We ended up getting a touchdown, which seems irrelevant in that Eagles game. Tucker hits his extra point in his two field goals. We win that game. That's like it's unreal. And when we have a game like this against a really good defense and we get stumped in the red zone, we get stumped in opponent's territory, and he's forced to take a 45-yarder that has become almost automatic in the NFL these days, I don't have faith. And it's the bye week. I hope he takes time to fix it because I think it's fundamental. It's all the way down to Jordan Stout holding to the long to Nick Moore snapping it to Justin Tucker kicking it. They've got to figure their shit out because if this it's gonna burn us in a playoff game. Playoff games are close. If we're playing the Steelers in the first round as we're projected to do right now, that game will be one score. If that one score is a Justin Tucker missed field goal, I'm gonna lose my damn mind. He needs to figure it out because it's gonna burn us.
I will say it is hilarious seeing on Twitter all the people saying you got to put him down like old Yeller.
Bro,
It's like
yeah.
it's it's tough though. Like he's the greatest kicker of all time.
You have to give him that credit, but
But when you're a contending team and your Super Bowl window is open right now, you can't leave this many points on the board. You just can't do it.
Yeah, I believe he has the worst field goal percentage.
yeah, maybe I
Uh,
do.
s- so that's hey,
Like
that's what are you gonna do? It's just something that has to get figured out.
I legitimately think we're getting to a point where unless he figures it out over the bye, it's four down territory till we're inside the 20. Like I can't see this team not going for it on 4th and 5 from the 45-yard line because I don't trust Kick Tucker. I don't. I trust. I think we have better odds converting a 4th and 5 or a 4th and 7 than kicking a 50-yarder or a 40-yarder.
I think the mental side has got to him
Oh,
this year.
absolutely.
All right. Frosty, who surprised you?
I went with Aiden O'Connell going into Arrowhead against the big bad Chiefs defense, 23 for 35, 340 yards, two touchdowns, and was in the process of leading a game-winning drive until their offensive line got all discombobulated and snapped the ball when nobody was ready. But still an unbelievable game from Aiden O'Connell, who wasn't even the starter for this Vegas team. Like, what, 3 weeks ago before Gardner Minshew got hurt? Like, he plays the Chiefs well, and Vegas plays the Chiefs well, and they almost took it again in Arrowhead.
Yeah. These next 5 games are key for him. He's got a chance to earn a spot, to earn a spot next year.
I think he should. I didn't even think he was that bad last season when he had some run, but I mean they weren't winning games, so ultimately like you kind of have to change it. Uh, Glover, did you want to say anything on that or?
I think the upside's limited with him, but with this quarterback class, I wouldn't be opposed to taking another player and letting him run out the next season.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, my mixture was it's guys we've talked about. Like Tarheeb Steele was definitely surprising. And then like for us, we just mentioned Aiden O'Connell. So we've touched on those guys. Is there anything else we want to touch on today, fellas? I mean, that's pretty much it. We could talk about the college football playoff ranking coming out if you guys wanted to touch on that. Um, I still thought Miami has been eliminated from contention because I believe it's because of Big 12, the Big 12 winner is just going to jump in and kick them out
Mhm.
regardless of what happens. So,
Yeah.
what do we make of that? Alabama getting in, Miami not.
I don't like that it was
So
Bama getting in instead of them. I'm not opposed to Miami missing, but Bama,
So my biggest issue right now is the way this whole college football thing works is the winner of the ACC championship gets an automatic bye between I think SMU is 11 and 1 or 10 and 1 right now
yeah.
and Clemson who's 9 and 3. So Clemson beats SMU. SMU loses if they get knocked out of the playoffs because of that. They get knocked out because they had to play an extra game that they won because they won too many games. That's why they had to play the extra game. And if they lose that game, then they're done because it's SMU. The committee's obviously going to prioritize an Ole Miss, a South Carolina, a Miami over an SMU, regardless of how much better their resume is than those other teams.
That would be abysmal, especially after the fiasco of last year. If you introduce the 12 team and do something like that, like I want Clemson to win to see what happens. I also want Clemson to win so Bama doesn't get in. Like I think if Clemson wins, Clemson should be, they get their seed. SMU should get in over Bama for sure. Like realistically, in terms of rankings, not based on where they're going to be seated, based on winning conference championships, that would bump Clemson to the 12, and SMU would stay above them in some ranking, like maybe at like 10 or 11. But like Bama should not get in.
All right.
And
T-
I was gonna say I just don't like that South Carolina's not in either. I'd put South Carolina above Bama, Miami, and Ole Miss right now.
I would.
The problem is they lost the head to head to
Yeah.
both Ole Miss and Alabama, but they're playing better football. And the CFP's whole thing is it's who are the best teams right now. It's why Florida State didn't make it last year. Right now, they're a better team than Alabama and Ole Miss.
And they're playing well. And if two of your three losses are to top 15 teams, that's a pretty damn good resume.
all right. Rapid fire to end it. Your guys' predictions for the some championship games here. Starting off the Big 12, Iowa State, Arizona State. Who do you guys got?
Arizona State, they're
Yeah,
red
I think ASU blows them out of the water.
and they're a team that could sneak in too.
Arizona
Yeah, if they
Arizona
win, they
State
get
will
in.
get in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they will get in. I think they could be a dark horse team in the college football playoff the way they've been playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much a win and get in for both of them. This
Yeah,
is probably the one that means the most outside of Clemson SMU. So who do you guys got?
I think it's SMU.
I want to say SMU, but I think the Clemson in a big game is really tough to bet against.
It's fair. They've been
I'll
playing
go
better.
SMU though. I'll go SMU. I think SMU is the better team.
Yeah, both of those seem to be they're basically win and get in. I like more so the Big 12, but I feel like I think the ACC is
Yeah, they'll
I
win
th
and get in.
I think if SMU loses, I think like you guys were saying, they might just get booted. I'm not sure.
It'll
Um,
then it comes down to committee. Then
Yeah,
it's how much they value them.
all right, Big Ten, Penn State and Oregon, number one versus number three.
Oregon's gonna destroy them. Penn State should not be ranked this high, in my opinion.
They shouldn't, but I don't think Oregon should either. Oregon's good. I think they've been the best team in the country, but I don't think they're better than I don't think they are the best team in the country, even though they've been the best team in the country.
They haven't been like a dominant like one that you would have seen. Like I think there's because I only say this because as a Wisconsin Badgers fan, they looked so bad against the Badgers, and with our backup quarterback, we haven't had a starter all year, and they barely squeaked out a win against us. It took a miracle pick at the end for them to beat us. Like I don't think they're all that's cracked up to be. I wouldn't pick them to win the playoffs, which hey, maybe we'll
I
do a little bracket prediction on here. Why not?
I wouldn't be shocked if Penn State beats them. I think both of those teams are really fraudulent, but I wouldn't be shocked.
I don't mind Penn State more than some other people do, especially Glover. Glover's a Penn State hater, and
On
then
Penn State.
I mean, hey, I as a Big Ten, that's a rival that I don't want to talk about, but I think they got some. I think I like Drew Aller, the quarterback. I think he deserves more credit than he gets. And let's finish it off with the SEC, Georgia, Texas. Where you guys leaning?
I do
That's gonna be a good
Texas.
game.
I think it's going to be Texas.
Ah, I'm gonna go Texas because Georgia's looked very questionable these past couple of weeks.
It's in Texas too.
Yeah, that's gonna be big.
All right, so you guys are pretty aligned, I would say.
Yeah.
I think you guys all picked the same ones, if I believe. But that'll do it. That'll do it. Exciting week of college football playoff or college football coming up. Some is there some big games in the NFL this week? I'm not too sure. The Texans are on a bye, so I
Yeah.
I, I check out. I mean, you got Packers Lions kicking us off on Thursday, and then we also that's about it really. That's about the biggest game we got. So Chargers
Seahawks
Chiefs.
Cardinals.
Yeah, Seahawks Cardinals too. So, but I think college football might dominate this weekend.
Yeah.
But regardless, thanks for watching. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, and Andrew Foster here. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all of that good stuff. And as always, keep it buzzing.